Are the Cowboys front runners? Let's listen.
Why? You take a certain amount of intensity with you when you're playing a good football team. If you're a good football team and you're going on the road to play a good football team, you take that intensity with you. They don't do it. I don't know why. I believe in Dallas. I love their coach. Why don't they take it on the road and get nasty? They don't do it. They sit back and they just look like, come on, just take all you want from me. We'll just go ahead and look stupid. And that's what they did today. They don't match the intensity. And when you're playing great football teams and you believe in yourself, you take a certain amount of intensity with you that you deny them what they're doing. To say that they could come out and rush to football against Dallas's defense, you got to be kidding me. They knew they could. That's why they did it.
No doubt, man. There's really not a lot of room to talk about as it relates to the Cowboys last night game. The defense played terrible. The offense didn't play good at all. And then your special teams had some issues. So you go on the road and you lose on all three phases of the game. Let me throw in another thing that we lost in. We lost on the fourth phase, which is the coaching. Coaches got to be more aware. They got to know when to use the challenge flag. And on top of that, we are the most undisciplined team in the National Football League, unfortunately. Now, can we smooth out some of these things? One can argue and say, yeah, but man, 9 times out of 10, we are who we are at this point. When you play a game in December and January, you got to be playing at your peak. Now, granted, the Cowboys did just win 5 games in a row. And on top of that, for anybody to say, well, the Cowboys can't beat teams above 500, we just won 2 games in a row with a team that's above 500. Now, do this type of loss make you look into the mirror and say, what do we need to do better? Yes. This is also a situation and scenario that teams may say, okay, this is a copycat league, and if the Cowboys really about that life, then let's make the necessary adjustments.
This is emasculating. That's run defense, and that's power football.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
And we can talk about the interior. The interior definitely was not good yesterday, but a lot of this also was done on the edges. Like, they just destroyed you outside where you're supposed to be good with guys like DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm just looking over the game log here and looking at some of the plays that happened. Josh Allen, left tackle, 5 yards. Cook, left tackle, 10 yards. Cook, left tackle, 12 yards. Johnson, left tackle, 7 yards. They were getting outside and getting anything they wanted, getting 5 to 10 yards at a time. Yeah. That's a massive problem.
Look. It's hard to defeat a team when the opposing team is running on the outside, getting 5, getting 10 yards per pop. And on top of that, with 12 explosive plays and these sorts of things, I think over 20 some odd attempts that these boys were averaging more than 5.5 yards per run. That is crazy, y'all. That is crazy. And the Cowboys, with the levels of expectations, do we have the talent on this team? One can argue we do, especially with Parsons. And I get it. He's on the edge. But the Bills didn't even think to pass the ball like that. They only passed the ball 15 times. And I think only completed 7 or 8 attempts passing the ball. So even with that, you got to make the necessary adjustments. So I want to know in your thoughts, man, on all of this. How do you guys grade Dan Quinn with stopping his run? Hey,
buddy. Hey, everyone, not just the interior. And this guy looked like freaking Barry Sanders out there. Ben in Houston. Ben. Not Bijan Robinson.
I was about to say, I mean, Bijan's in Atlanta.
Ben in Houston, you're up next.
I feel like they're not scheming for teams specifically. Like, I feel like they go in with the same game plan on offense and defense, and watch film all week, and then even into the game, hey, look, this team's trying to run it down our throat. Guys, quit getting so far upfield on the outside, inside, set your gaps. Linebackers, set your gaps, hold your gaps. Don't pursue the quarterback as much. Things like that, and I don't know if the coaches are just not telling them how to do it, or they're just too gung-ho about trying to get their stats or whatnot.
I love that Dan Quinn was trending yesterday. Thank God, the untouchable one, the Prince of DFW.
Whoa.
Roe Purry on Twitter. Dan Quinn needs to own this. The Cardinals, 49ers, Rams, Eagles, Seahawks, Bills have all taken this defense apart. It cannot be that DQ gets all the glory when we win and McCarthy gets all the S flung in his face when we lose.
I think it's a collective, man. When we look at Dan Quinn, we know where we came from, right? And just because we came from a very dark time, right, with our defense, and saying Dan Quinn is a breath of fresh air, at times we do got to understand that, hey, what were Dan Quinn's faults even in Atlanta? Personnel. We have light body works over here trying to do big body stuff, and those right there could be an impediment for this team. We just got to figure out how to reel everything in, especially on stopping the run. I'm not finna crucify Dan Quinn, but yeah, it is time to really look into it and say, hey, what can we do to get better at that spot? What can we do to stop all of this? Now, this is from Brian Baldinger, his breakdown of what happened, the massacre that happened last night on us not being able or with the inability to stop the run.
Watch what the Buffalo Bills put on tape against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start with Deion Dawkins in this block right here on Damone Clark. Like 20 yards down the field, Josh Allen's liking what he sees. Now, their favorite play has been for the last 2 months this counter tackle trap with Deion Dawkins leading the way.
Bam!
And the combo block by Osiris Torrance and Spencer Brown, and James Cook is somersaulting into the end zone. And Bills Mafia is going crazy. But how about if they just reverse it? They haven't run it counter trap with Spencer Brown, but he does a good job, and James Cook gets
wide open
10 yards. And you go,
easy.
You know what? Let's double up the play. That was fun. Let's run Spencer Brown again. All they do is run the exact same plays, another good block by Spencer Brown, and they're like, you know what? It worked 2 times. Let's do it a 3rd time.
Bro,
they ran the exact same play over and over on Micah Parsons right there. Look at this block down the field by Spencer Brown. They got athletic players up front. And Deion's like, hey, come on, coach. Call my number. I'm having a good time doing this.
Yeah, dog.
Bam.
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 Bam. Oh, my goodness.
Fell. Bam. That's what they did to the Cowboys all day.
All day,
and
man.
Finally, you just do this. You just go, you know what? To hell with any run calls. Let's just bash them right up the middle. And let's just start pushing. We don't need any runs.
Yeah.
Let's just scrum it. Let's just scrum the Cowboys right back to Dallas right here. Everybody can get. Is Josh Allen going to get? Is he going to get in there? Is he going to get a push?
No.
Everybody pushed the Cowboys around. 266 yards on 50 runs. A beatdown.
A beatdown, man. And when we start talking about this, how do you scheme that up? How do you stop the bleeding, baby? How do you get all of this stuff out the way? And I think it goes more with scheme. It goes more with philosophy. And I hate to say this, size matters. Size matter. And we don't have that dog on the defensive side in that linebacker room because as you guys can see, up front, they had the gaps contained. They had the gaps pretty much filled. But those boys ran on B gap on the outside and to bounce it all the way to the edge, and they ran through C gap. They didn't go through the A, and then even when they did do it on that particular time, still we supposed to come down and fill. They took the entire Cowboys team and took them on a journey. On a journey, baby. And that is terrible right there. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get better. We got to figure this out. I had my guy, Nico. He broke down everything, too. Let's listen to what he had to say. And I love it from the outside looking in. Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to him.
Let's just put this into perspective. Josh Allen didn't even throw for 100 yards today. He threw 15 passes, and Buffalo put up 31 points on offense. We've never seen the Bills pull out big games like this without Josh Allen having to completely put the offense on his back. It just does not happen. But that sure happened today, and it's because they were able to run the football exceptionally well. Over 250 yards on the ground. Woo! James Cook in the run blocking was awesome, but I also think a bigger weakness of Dallas got exposed today that they've been able to sort of hide, which is that they are not a very physical squad, both defending the run or running the football themselves. In fact, after this game, the Cowboys defense is officially dead last in rushing success rate. Teams are always
rushing success rate dead last, 32. 31 other teams better than you. Look, you can't have the expectations to win the Super Bowl or to make a deep playoff run when you're not successful on stopping the run. It get colder during these times of the month, and teams will like to run the ball more. Not saying that this will expose the Cowboys to a degree, but even with Hankins in the mix, you still rank 32nd, y'all. So we going to have to overturn the overall philosophy on stopping the run. I get it. We need personnel help and these sorts of things. Now, the bleeding may have not been as bad if we had a Jonathan Hankins in this game, but still they were attacking the outside edges. And let's listen to more what he had to say.
He's getting the yards they need again. The Bills' offense was able to run the football and keep Dallas off the field to a large extent, but when they were on the field, I was not impressed by Mike McCarthy's play calling. I thought it was a big step back from the stuff he's been doing lately. They were getting blown up in pass protection, and McCarthy didn't give Dak nearly enough quick options. It felt like it was all or nothing once they went down big. Knowing the way the team has collapsed in previous years, this type of game definitely leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. Highmark is a nightmare to play in, and ultimately I think this is more of a statement for the Bills than it is a massive panic game for the Cowboys.
So it shouldn't be a panic game at all for the Cowboys down the stretch, but it should be an eye-opener. Now, granted, this was a big statement game for the Buffalo Bills, and they in a whole different conference. They in a whole different division. We don't have to worry about them down the stretch. So the Cowboys got to still take care of business versus the Miami Dolphins and the Lions, and as well as with the doggone Washington team, and figure things out down the stretch. Hey, you want to play your best football in the last parts of this particular season. You don't want to stumble into the playoffs. You want to go into the playoff red hot. And this right here, it can either work against you or work for you. And at this time, I hope that it works for the Cowboys. Look, let's get our mindset focus in together. And just to echo what Nico said about the actual Mike McCarthy, look, you don't have to go for the kill shot. You don't have to go for the juggler. You just got to make sure that you get your offense in rhythm. Look, Dak, I get it. I understand the MVP conversation should be put to bed right now. Look, get into rhythm, set the tone with the offense, and understand what we got going against our defense. Our defense, like we've seen, is dead last on run stop on certain situations. And on top of that, if teams can continue to be stubborn, not to run the ball, then that plays into our favor. What are our strengths? Our strengths are quite simply, hey, we do a great job on stopping teams from passing and throwing the ball. We do a great job of absolutely taking control of the offense when our offense is rolling. So we got to play to our strength, not our weakness. And the Cowboys got to mask up a few other things in order for us to go deep. Cowboy Nation, post me your thoughts, post me your concerns down below. Hey, man, we just got to get it together, Cowboy Nation. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Go Cowboys.